Live here from Talladega, just moments away from the racing action as the 71 34 for life, or McDowell, whatever people refer to him as at this point. That is the man in charge of this field, heading this sleigh down to deliver the present. The presents are in the form of a great race. And I think we will be treated to that. These 8 cars. Let's run through the field, see what we got here today. Starting in P1, the 71 of McDowell, or 34, as he'll probably be referred to for the majority of this race. P2, driving the Talladega Night Scheme. That is the 21 of Duncan. Starting in third, driving the number 29, that is going to be Monk. Starting in fourth, driving the number 97 is Mellon. Fifth is Bella. Sixth is Rocky. Seventh is going to be, I think the seventh should be Ray, correct? Brunswick, just message me on Discord, I guess, and let me know if I'm right about that. The 56 of Ray. And then I think 8th should be Chris. 8th should be Chris. But the order's messed up here. This isn't the right starting order, I don't think. Think that this is not the right order, but I guess we'll just go with it here. From this point, I don't have much to say. That is the starting order. Now just waiting for this race to get started, and I think there's a lot to be excited about for this specific race. You know, you're talking about Talladega, and last season we got our fair share of moments out of that, including the famous Rocky's gonna get the Mickey win clip, where Rocky in the field crashed, giving Rocky the lead, and eventually after disqualification, Greek became the defending winner of this very race. And when we talk about Greek, this is going to be what's going on with Chris. I don't know. There's a lot going on in chat and everywhere, and I'm trying to distribute my attention well. Chris saying that Brunswick banned him. I'm not sure what that's about. We may not see Chris back in this race, fellas. I'm not sure. .34 in that 71 machine. That is your defending champion after a lot of controversy. He had his Daytona 500 win disqualified after it was found out that he qualified for the race via letting Duncan race on his account to win his duel and advance to the 500. Then he almost lost his championship for a penalty before it was appealed, adjusted, and the champion was decided to be 34. But the point is 34 has a history in this server that goes way past, you know, winning one super speedway race like Greek did last season, or, you know, just very small blips on the radar. But he's actually got, you know, a little bit of a prestige going on in this server. 18 wins last season was what the 71 of 34 was able to accrue. This season, he retired and returned to part-time racing, but that doesn't mean that he's not trying to make a splash, as today is trying to prove. He's going to try and put this car into victory lane, driving the 71 here at Talladega. You go back to second, and you look at Duncan, someone who is trying this season in the absence of 34 to mark and notch out his second championship. He won the Season 2 BRL Championship in a controversial homestead set of events in which 34 had pit strategy issues, and it handed the win to the 21 of Duncan, and subsequently the championship as well, since of course the championship is decided at Homestead. This season, in the absence of 34, he's wanting to get his name out there, get some wins, notch himself into the history books, where he tries to put himself today. Pace car, the Brunswick pace car, heading off pit road. And when talking about what we should expect, it's hard. You're talking about champions. You're talking about the rising talents of the league in Bella, who resides back in the 7 car. That was your Texas winner. That's also an MWRT racer, which brings lots of controversy in the form of opposition to the fact that that is a larger league racer and accomplished a lot at Texas. Won very convincingly the 29 of Monk, another driver that is kind of trying to establish himself this season. 34 had been winning everywhere, even the road courses. Then Monk comes out, beats 34 on Road America, the road course. And today, we'll see who's who in the draft. The 71 of 34 heading to the restart zone, jumps out of line. We're underway at Talladega. The 21 of Duncan got a good start. I'm not quite sure what they'll determine about that, but it will be Duncan in the lead of this race for the immediate moment. Back in second is Monk, 34, now already making a move to get back to second. Here comes that 71 machine, 34, with help from the 56. Up the track goes Duncan, still trying to block 34. He'll be able to do it, and getting into turn 3. Here comes 34, goes below the line to take the lead. I'm not quite sure how that will be officiated, but if I had to guess, that probably won't just be incredibly encouraged to go below the line as he just did. And out in front is 34, but here comes Nook in the 4 car on the outside. Nook leads lap 1 at Talladega. Lap 1 at Talladega, leading the charge was Nook, but he's already fell to the back of this field. Already trying to get back to work on the bottom. Here comes the 97 of Watermelon, shaking and baking in the Wonder Bread scheme. Out in front are the 3 Wonder Bread cars pacing this field here at Talladega. Melon leads Rocky and Duncan. Here comes Bella down on the bottom to try and take third. And for now, this is still Melon's show. 4 wide behind him, though. Here comes Rocky on the outside. Help from Bella, side by side. Lap number 2 at Talladega will be led by the 8 of Rocky. Rocky back to the bottom, blocking the 7 of Bella. Freezy, who I've been calling Ray the entire race. Here comes that move. To the inside is the 7. The Texas winner, Bella, to the inside, trying to get the lead. Rocky will have help from 34 and Duncan. In the corner, they'll be just about dead even. Whoa, they crash. Hard to the wall goes Duncan. Rocky's around. Bella's around. Huge hits all around. The caution is going to fly. The leader will be 34. Couple of big hits right there. That was Pretty intense right there for the lead, and then they just all got together and lost it. You see the 8 go down into the corner. He's got the lead. Well, I can't really see how this gets started. It happens with Nook. Looks like Nook tries to block the advance of Melon, trying to look to his inside. Or trying to look to the middle, I mean. Melon was trying to look to the middle. Nook tries to block it, which turns him directly up into Duncan. That's a hard hit, but that doesn't explain the rest of the crash. I think Rocky gets pushed out of line by 34, tries to throw the block, and that turns him into Bella. Everybody just trying to miss it, and that'll turn the field into a spaghetti. Under caution here at Talladega, 34 leads Nook. Monk, Melon, Bella, and everybody will come down to pit road. No, 34 fakes him and stays out. Wow. 34 fakes the entire field. What is Chris doing on the speedway? I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that, but we'll watch here at the end of pit road. Here comes the 29 of Monk. And will he be off first? He's into that number 1 pit stall. Here they come. Monk wins race off pit road. Melon goes second. Freezy will go third. Your leader will be 34. And you have Chris behind him. I'm not quite sure. Chris is allowed to race, not allowed to race. He was in the race, had Nook subbing for him. I'm not sure what all this is going to entail, but it'll be green this time. So if Chris is allowed to race, then someone is out of this race, which I think would be Nook. I don't have really a advisor on these matters. I'm not, like, I can't, nobody's telling me what's going on with the race. So I just see and I say, you know, green next time. Not quite sure what the delay is. Everyone's here, but they are not going up to speed. And I think a couple of them wanted speed, didn't get there. Chris saying he has gotten stuck on pit limiter, and that will... Oh, he doesn't have a pit limiter. He's saying that since Brunswick kicked him out of the server, he has to be in it 10 minutes to join VC, which he can't do because he hasn't been in it for 10 minutes yet. So that, the rule in Brunswick Racing League, if anyone's not aware, which most people who's watching this are either rewatching it or most people I think are aware, but if you're not, you have to be in Brunswick Racing League for 10 minutes to be able to talk in the VC. And if you don't talk in the VC, you're not allowed to race. Chris is not in VC. I'm not in VC, and the stream is not being streamed from VC. But other than that, no one else is not allowed to be in the call unless they're just watching the race. And that's basically what I'm doing. I think Brunswick's going to make the call to let Chris race right here, and I think it is the right call because that's a wound inflicted not by Chris, but by what's going on in the server. We are back underway at Talladega, 3 wide, behind, and everybody pushing and shoving up into the wall all around the track. 3 wide, behind, 34 and Chris. Here comes Chris, looks to the outside, wants the lead. Does the middle have enough momentum? Right now, he doesn't have anyone immediately behind him, but Melon's going to get there with help from Duncan and Bella. Rocky looks to the middle. Chris was actually going to jump down with Rocky, comes back up. Everybody starting to look around, getting curious about what's out there and seeing if maybe there's something that'll get them further forward. Right now, 34 still in charge, goes up to block Chris. What a huge block by 34, and that is going to let Monk Wally pushes Chris out of line. Back to the bottom is 34. Chris in the 34 on the outside. Your leader is going to be the 71 of McDowell. We'll just call it McDowell since there's an actual 34 car in this race. The 71, Mac out in front. Whoa, Chris gets turned. Down to the field. The 97 and the 71 around as well as Monk. Hard hit for the 71. He'll get it back straight. Everybody's got it back straight. There will be no caution here for this incident, and the 21 of Duncan will take the lead. Duncan out in front of Bella. Bella trying to pick up her third win on the season. Freezy down to the bottom with help from Rocky. They're both going to be out of line, but Duncan will be able to get back down in line. Bella not so lucky. She will head to the back of this field to work back to the front, but there's a lot of laps, and patience is really not going to be hard to practice with this many laps left to go. The 21 of Duncan out in front of this thing still. Shaking and baking in the Wonder Bread machine. Freezy looking for a way around him in 56. Heading down the back. You're talking about Duncan, the 21, your race leader. The Season 2 champ, we already discussed that. But what we haven't really gotten over in too much detail is his super speedway resume. And it's a very complicated one because it's very illustrious on paper, but there's a extra layer to it. When you talk about Duncan, winner in quite a bit of super speedway-esque races, right now throwing a huge block, gets shoved to the middle, stays out clear, back to the bottom, trying to block. Think he will be able to make the block, but Duncan, he's very strong in Atlanta, especially in non-MWRT games. He's very strong at NASCAR game and I.24 races at super speedways. However, he hasn't really capitalized on super speedways when it comes to MWRT. And that is the caveat on his resume. Is 34 sideways in front of the field. The 71 of Mac is around, and that'll turn Chris. The field now getting a little bit dicey. Can they keep it together? Wow, 34 sliding into the lead. The 71 of Mac, aka 34, out in front. It's going to be weird trying to call him Mac because I've never done that before. But there's a 34 car in the race, which is Chris. And the context behind that, he's a McDowell fan, and he was renamed, and he named his account 34 for life before McDowell switched to the 71 car. So we still call him 34. But reality of it is, I think at this point he just calls himself McDowell. So I guess I have to call him Mac this race or something. Melon on the outside, Nook on the inside. Whoa, Melon gets turned. Sideways is Freezy. Now Melon and Freezy go around. Neither one of them Oh, Melon upside down at the back. He hits the wall a ton and goes onto his side. Everybody else chugging away from the scene of the crime as Mac will retake the lead here at Talladega. Whoa, he throws a bad block. He is barrel rolling over the field, pirouetting. Everybody now getting together. Caution is out. Chris, your leader, but he spins as the caution comes out. He'll save it, and I think he may get to keep his lead. Boy, that was a lot of things that just happened. There's a lot of things that just happened, and I want to dissect both incidents, the Melon flip and the 34 flip, the Mac flip, I suppose. And they both have roots in the same incident. You see, this all starts with the 7 of Bella pulling out a line, goes down to the middle to try and pass the 97 of Melon, and Melon throws a block, gets into the 56. That is Bella that gets into the 56, and they both get it straight, but then Freezy comes back up the track and gets into Melon. They kind of just have a mild slide, but Melon backs it into the Yellowwood sign, which I think the distribution of weight, the way he hit it and the banking, that all knocks his car upside down and onto its side. The second wreck, 34 with the lead, tries just 34 with the lead. He sees Nook make the move to the middle, goes up to block it, just nothing there, and that air just carries him way up high down the backstretch. Now getting ready for pit road action. Does anybody choose to stay out? I believe would be the question here. Into pits, Duncan and everyone goes in. Chris and 34 stayed out on the last one. They choose to stay on that strategy, and they will both stay out here under this caution. Just a violent wreck that 34 had, though. I mean, he was on his side and everything, pirouetting. That's one of those wrecks. I don't want to call it realistic, but it was based in something I could see happening. You know, someone blocks a run up the middle, hits the wall, and then the push just turns them over as we're trying to watch the race off of pit road. Everybody's already gotten off now, but if I'm being honest, it's a super speedway, so I don't much care about the race off pit road. I'm more worried about this violent crash we've just watched. And two separate drivers in the same lap, upside down. 34 trying to block the advance of Nook. And it was just a wild wreck to watch. Brunswick, that is affirmative. I have read your message, and getting ready to go back green. 71, Mac. 34 of Chris. Back underway at Talladega. The 29 of Monk and the 7 of Vela pull out of line, but I think everyone else is pretty content where they are. They'll stick to the bottom for now. Here comes Freezy as well to the outside. Contact. Everybody getting dicey back there. Side by side, all the way up to the second row. Here comes the 21. Duncan with help from Monk and Freezy. 34 of Chris pushing Mac out. Now Chris is actually going to look to the outside himself, trying to get something going and get this lead. And Chris in super speedways in BRL this season haven't been very good. He proves it now. Why? He gets sideways, drives it in the grass. Can he keep it straight? That is the question. He is still sideways, drift through the grass like Lightning McQueen, and that will give him the lead, but I'm sure he'll have to give that up. He will give it back up to 34, aka Mac. I'm trying to stay consistent in how I address it. I don't know. Now Chris gets back to the inside with help from Duncan. Now gets left out, tries to make the block, and there is nothing there. He finishes the block, but there was nothing in that block, and you can tell Duncan is not interested in pushing the 34 of Chris. Mellon, your leader now. The 71 back to the outside. Contact up the track goes the 71 of Mac. Mellon's your leader. Here comes the 21 with help from Bella. Whoa, Freezy sideways, gets turned. Up the track into Nook, they both go spinning, and now they've got the rest of the pack going around. No, they don't. The rest of the pack managed to save it after all, but they were getting into dangerous territory. I really thought that could have been huge. Could have collected everyone that wasn't that 97. Now I think he'll have to merge. The 34 of Chris back up there now. Goes to the outside, wants the lead all the way up by the Geico sign off turn number 4, the 34 of Chris wanting to lead. Mellon's willing to block to keep him from having it. Chris to the bottom. It's a train race, essentially. Everybody's snaking around. They all want the draft until they've got to the front of the train, and then they want to just jump out and they want to have the front of the train. They want to be the one leading, which is a strategy in and of itself. A good strategy, that is subjective to how you drive. If you're someone that makes the best blocks and they know what they're doing and they have a little bit of aggression and they know what they're doing, that is a great strategy. Someone like Duncan leading on the last lap, I think you can trust him a good bit doing his job. Right now, Duncan is not leading. It is Mellon. And I think Mellon, whoa, Chris gets turned into Bella. He is upside down in front of the field. Now Bella as well spinning hard into the wall, and the caution will come out. And fellas, under this caution, for the first time, we will head to a commercial break.
Welcome to the edge of racing, where rookies turn fearless and veterans remember why they started. It's raw, aggressive, unpredictable. Out here, nothing's promised, not even next week. On Saturday, it's not about the fame, it's about the fight. These cars don't forgive, and neither do the drivers. Chaos strikes without warning. From small towns to grandstands, America's behind the wheel. Here, losing hits harder. And when they win, it's because they risked everything to get there. The NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Pure, raw racing. Only on the CW.
And while pit road's going on, there's not a lot to watch. So while we're at it, let's address Rocky, who has set the fastest lap of the race with a 50.617. Now pit road race getting heated, and it'll be 3 wide. Here comes Duncan to take the race off the pits, and he will restart in P3. Green flag getting ready to come back out. This time, 34 and Chris, Mac and Chris, if you want me to address them that way, out in front. And the only reason I address him as Mac is I know some people, such as Fenty, have complained about me addressing him as 34 in the past, citing that it incites confusion and that it could also, like I said, it's going to make people unaware of whether or not I'm talking about the 34 car or 34 as in Mac. Mac in the 71 Gainbridge Chevrolet, leading the 34 Ford Grillo's Pickles machine of Chris back to the restart zone, and we are back underway through the Geico restart zone and heading back to the green flag. Whoa, Chris turns himself and he is upside down again like a flying saucer. We have had less than an entire green flag lap since 2 different flips by the 34 of Chris. But that will not bring out any form of caution as the 71 of Mac out in front of Duncan. Freezy runs in third. Nook, the first car on the outside, trying to get help from Mellon and Monk. Now, Freezy wants the outside, won't get any help from Nook in the 4 car. Nook has help. Now, Duncan will go to the outside. Duncan trying to take the lead. He has a little bit of help, and back to the line. The 21 car will not be your leader, but it was a small margin, and he will get the lead as they head through 1 and 2. The 21 of Duncan running the middle lane. he takes the lead from Mac. Now Chris merging. He is in the bottom lane, and he'll get out of it. But you see that in BRL, you're not expected to move up for someone that is merging. You are supposed to stay out of the racing lane, and he was not out of the racing lane there. That could see him get some form of warning or something else for that reckless of a merge. The 21 of Duncan still out in front. Nook looking around. He wants to take control of this train. He will not, right now at least. Out in front, still the 21. This race now heading towards an hour long, and we've already seen enough action to fill up about a 3-hour highlight reel. To the outside goes Nook. He'll have help from Melon. Not sure how much Melon's committed to that outside, but he seems pretty committed because he is going up there to help Nook, and Duncan will stay on the bottom and will keep help from Freezy. I think now Duncan's going to go up to the top. Whoa, he throws a block, and that will spin himself and Nook. Can they keep it out of the pack? They do for now. Nook will keep it out of the wall, and that needs to be put in the Hall of Fame for saves by Nook. I mean, wow, he was pointed straight at that inside wall. Speaking of people pointing at the wall, Rocky almost around, hits the wall a couple times, but Nook was absolutely doomed and just turned it straight and saved it. Somebody put that man in the Save Hall of Fame. The 56 of Freezy to the outside now wants an advance on Melon. Melon is not going to give it to him. The bottom 6 cars, the outside, disintegrates down to 3, down to 2, and down to 1. Melon wants the block. He'll get it. But these are getting to be really dangerous and really narrow blocks that they're making. And Melon realizes that he will not try to add to his blocking masterclass he's put on today. Maybe because he saw the formation of the outside. 5 cars up there to push Melon and keep him in the lead. Melon is not a stranger to BRL victory lane, but he's also not a stranger to losing it right here at Talladega. He can go back to season 2, and when we talk about sad losses, we have that Melon losing in overtime to Chris to fill out the Awesome Autosport Championship 4 sweep, but it was still a devastating moment for Melon in terms of trying to get his first BRL win. Duncan makes a block, and the field is coming apart again. Hard hits for Rocky, hard hit for Freezy. Melon spinning at the back of this thing, and of course the caution flag is out. That was kind of an underwhelming wreck for what it was. They all really kind of got it saved towards the end there. I'm not saying that it wasn't a big wreck, but it was not much of a wreck. It wasn't as big as it looked like, I should say. And pit road already getting back to open. 34 and Chris finally going to take on pit road, but one man decides against it. And that man is Freezy, who will stay out. And we'll watch the end of this pit stop. Here comes the 71 of Mac to take the first pit stall. Chris will take the second. And we'll watch what happens as they come out. The 7 of Bella will win the race off pit road. Nook comes second. Monk third. Fourth is Mac. And that will wrap up pit stops here for the moment. Rocky will come out all the way at the back. let's talk about Mellon for a moment. And the last win in BRL documented, the last documented BRL win for Mellon, I don't know if it's his last win, was all the way back in September 2025 when Mellon won at Atlanta, crashing significantly behind. Might have to extend this caution by a lap. Green next time. Brunswick will say red is going to come out. I'm not 100% solid, but that would mean that Mellon hasn't won since season 3 of BRL. That was back in Atlanta. I can't 100% confirm that. It is commercial time. So let me stop this conversation. We'll be back here in a moment.
Kyle Busch, welcome to Menards. What can I help you with today?
Well, I've got my shopping list right here. I need some green treated lumber. I need a brown Mastercraft door. I need red Clearview cabinets and some blue Dutch Boy paint.
Those are M&Ms.
And?
At Menards, we carry the world's best selection of home improvement products to help you complete your next project.
You've got more of these, right?
It's all gonna fit in your car?
I got a trunk.
Save big money at Menards.
Wendy's has new Biggie deals starting at just $4. So now you can decide how biggie you want to go, which is kind of beautiful. I'm not condensating, you're condensating. More Biggie options so you can get more of what you really want at Wendy's.
Kyle Busch.
From commercial break, back here at Talladega, 27 laps down, coming back to complete the 28th here under caution. We'll restart with, I believe, 31 laps to go. About halfway through this, and we were just on the topic of upsets here in BRL with Mellon talking about he hasn't won in, if my documentation is correct, it's been a solid 6 months since the last time Mellon has won here in BRL. You want to talk about upsets around here? And who would be the biggest upset of the race? I think that would go to Freezy, because I believe he's the only one here without any form of win here in BRL. Not 100%, not 100% on that, but I believe he's the only person here with 0 wins across BRL. I don't think he's made that many starts either. Rocky, of course, he won back in season 1 in a D2 race here at Talladega in a conflict with myself. This was when I still raced the last time he won. I flipped up into the fence and he drove through to get the win. Back underway. Can the 56 of Ray make anything happen today? That is what we will find out. I did not think they would go green, but I guess that means we restart with 32 laps to go. The 56 of Freezy out in front, blocking both lanes, but that is not a strategy that tends to work very well. You know, if we're talking about like a NASCAR heat game, what makes this different? Well, in the NASCAR heat games, you're talking about AIs that can lift off the gas in an instant when you try and make a block on them. And as we say that, Nook turned around sideways, so too is Mac. Everybody keeps it straight. The 56 can make these blocks all he wants, right? He can do that. That's his right as the race leader to make whatever kind of block the man wants to make. But these aren't people that can break on a dime, nor are these people that necessarily want to break on a dime. They would rather just wreck you and clean you out for making a block stupid like that than actually, you know, lift and give you the grace that sometimes you might need when you're throwing one of these huge blocks, knowing that you might need a little bit of grace. And you're going to get cleaned out if you make a bad block like this, so that's not necessarily as easy to do in this as it is in a NASCAR heat game or something of the such. You're not going to want to do that. It's just not a good idea to block the way that we saw Freezy blocking a couple laps ago and now trying to do again right now. The 71 of Matt gives the push to Freezy, but it won't really do him much good. Here comes Chris to the middle. He'll push Freezy 3 by 3 at the front. That'll give the 4 of Nook the lead. 4 cars leading at super speedways. Where do we remember this from? The Season 2 Daytona 500 champ driving for Awesome Autosport was Minister. After behind him, the advance of myself was blocked by a scuffle with Connor, trying to take the 4 car back to victory lane at a super speedway is Nook, but Mac trying to put that to a stop. Melon is around at the back, trying to get it saved, does, and right in front of Monk, who has to take evasive action to get out from behind the 97 car. Right now, the 4 of Nook getting back to the point. Everybody shuffling around, and you just don't ever know how they're going to race here at Talladega because some people more aggressive than others. You've seen Monk. Monk has stayed at the back of this thing for a significant portion of the race, whereas someone like Mac or Nook or Melon have been at the front of this thing for most of the race. Contact with Freezy, who gets in the grass. He'll get back up and save it. Wow. That requires a massive pair between your legs. That was a huge decision to make right there. To just drive it down in the grass, turn straight right back up the track and make that move. That is something that could have just got the whole field wrecked, but it also did what it did, which is keep his track position and keep him in a position to advance. Not for any longer. Him and Chris spin onto the apron. Chris back up the track, but Chris will actually get it safe right in front of Melon, who he puts in the wall. Chris, the only thing breaking up the Ricky Bobby cars. Now we have the leader spinning, Duncan and Nook around. The leader is now the 8 of Rocky as they drive away from the scene of the crime. It is 27 laps to go, and there is a lot of time to make moves, but you'll notice that they are not waiting around. Everybody wants to be the leader. They want to lead the most laps, and that is something that's pretty much exclusive to row racing. And why? It is the idea of a word many people have started to throw around in row racing. It's that word Mickeyness. Mickeyness means that people don't want to win races. They want to avoid the hate. Rocky throws a bad block and hits the pit wall. spins through the pit entrance, and I believe that will now put him stuck at pit speed. He'll have to do a drive-through, which of course won't actually count as a drive-through penalty, but he has to drive all the way through to get the pit speed limiter off of his car. The idea of Mickeyness and getting Mickey Mouse wins is that someone got a win just purely based on fairy tale luck, and that it wasn't a deserved win. And therefore, because of that, people want to get to the front. They want to lead laps. They want to avoid the hate that comes with getting a win, only leading one lap, or with causing a big wreck or something. They don't want that to be associated with them. They want to convince the field of their worth, and that's especially prominent in this kind of thing. Everyone wants to get the lead in this kind of race because of that idea of Mickeyness. Melon up the track by the wall, and I think he's just trying to get to the back of this field, but you know, there are people that would actually probably like to go to the high side and run it with him, but I just think Melon understands what's best for him, which is staying on the bottom. The bottom at Talladega, as a commentator, probably I shouldn't have an opinion on this, but the bottom is where I think that you need to be to win the race. I don't think that going to the outside and trying to get aggressive and making those moves, that is not going to work in a sustained manner. And let me explain why. When you watch one of these races, what you'll notice a lot of is, you know, people pushing each other up and out of line. You'll see the lines form up and these big pushes come. But what tends to happen on the outside is someone comes down. Someone off that banking just gets a little bit loose. And they have to come down. They have two options. They can turn right, risk wrecking their car, or they're going to hit somebody. And that, either way, we have pitters. It's Chris and 34. Chris and 34 will come out almost in sync. And that is going to be good for them. Very good for them to speak of, because they'll be able to get a little bit of tandem draft, but they'll stay away from all of the fun stuff that goes on at the front of this field. What the problem is, the front of this field has 7 cars pushing, and they're almost a lap down. So if that rest of the field doesn't come down and pit soon, I think 34 and Chris are basically out of the race without a caution. I don't like that strategy. But I think they executed it to perfection, even if it was a strategy not necessarily built out of the most stable foundations. It's a very questionable decision to pit, especially at the point of the race, which it is. But I won't say it's a bad one, because you never know what can happen in the next couple of laps. The 21 of Duncan out in front at Talladega, leading Freezy and Melon up the track. Duncan will take over the point. Whoa! Melon is around and he cannot merge because pit strategy has begun. Nook also around. That's 2 cars who, for the all respective purposes, are out of the draft. And Melon sitting on his lid over there. I'm not sure how that happened. I have to go back and watch the stream. The caution is out. This right here will actually allow for Chris and 34 to get with the field. And that strategy of theirs may not look so bad now, especially with the crash that has just happened. The driver's very unhappy with Freezy, the driver of the 56. The red is out. The red out on the back straightaway. And this is going to be the second red flag of the race. And on top of how many ever cautions we've had, I want to say it's around 3 to 4. About 1 every 10 laps, it feels like. Feels about right. I'm not, I don't know the numbers. Could be more. It could be like, 6 or 7 for...
If you want an experience that wakes you up, a place where you can scream to your heart's delight, go ahead. No one will hear you anyway. Yeah, let's go, baby! Here, you don't just watch. Yeah! You feel. Come as you are and have a damn good time. Who is your daddy? That rumble you hear, that growl you feel, that's us. Hell yeah, boys!
All right, fellas, we are back from commercial break, and we have people already calling for my job after the reference to the number of cautions we may have had under the last caution slash red flag flying. Chris saying, quote, ban Mista no 67. Well, Chris, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. My brain hurt. I made a big mistake. I'm gonna get quote unquote banned for this mistake. All right, race off pit road. The seven of Bella will get out of pit road first. Chris, what do you want me to... Chris, what are you spamming me in chat for? Okay, he's not telling me. I'm trying to... I think Chris and a couple other people may be watching the stream, which I don't have access to. I don't know how to watch the stream. What I do know is this ought to be interesting. We've got 20 laps left. And, well, to put it very simply, 20 laps left. There is no prospect of anybody slowing down. What has the 56 just done? Him and Chris just completely jumped the start. And then we're back underway. He's already going to the back. Not all the way there. I don't think he's going behind Monk, but pretty much fell to the back. And we have one car that didn't necessarily get up to speed with the rest. That being the 8 of Rocky. The 7 of Bella out in front, charging this field right now, and realistically, one of the top favorited drivers to win this championship. And I said favorited, I meant favored. I'm speaking in a certain driver in this race's dialect right now, and I think they know who they are. But probably the most favored to come up and win the championship is the 7 of Bella, who has been absolutely lights out in her first couple of starts. 2 wins in 2 starts of BRL. And right now, not going to make it 3 if we keep wrecking like that. Not quite sure what happened, but Gotta keep the car straight. Mellon in the 97 Talladega Nights throwback leads this field in trying to hold on to everything that could make him a winner today. And right now, that falls into two categories. That is help, and that is control. When you control the race, it's very simple. When you control the race, oh, we got a spinner, and the leader, the 56, Freezy upside down in the backstretch. Finally getting back on all four. And the 97 of Mellon back to the point. Like I said, the way that this race is won is two ways: control and help. When you have good help, when you have people around you, and you have allies, people that are willing to stick with you, that is going to win you races. But the key is that you have to have people willing to race you better than you race them. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you race them just as good as they race you, what happens is neither one of you are allies, because you're both trying to help one another. You're both, trying to be fair to one another. Neither one of you is going to be willing to take charge. What you're going to do is you're going to have to be willing to have someone push you while you're also willing to not push them, essentially. That's how you win Talladega races, is when you put yourself in position where you're going to the front and you have people willing to keep you there. But control is the other thing. Where Mellon is a position of control. Where Rocky is a position of control. Where Mac is a position of control. Where Nook is a no position of control. You got to be leading a lane or leading the race to really be in a position of control. And that is where Chris and Mellon have put themselves, but Bella is sideways and 5 wide on lap 46 and crashing. Into the front stretch grass, Bella slides across the MWRT logo. Mellon still leads this race, and he's got both aspects really good for him right now. He's got control, he's got a lane lead, and he's got help. Mac, Chris, Duncan, I think, are all going to be very willing to push him to the win of this race. But he's also leading a lane. That is a position I would want to be in. I don't know exactly if Freezy's in a great spot. Yes, he's leading a lane. He has one of those check marks. He doesn't have the other. Whoa, Monka sideways and sliding. Gets it back pointed straight, but not before he's going to fall almost out of draft, if not all the way out of draft. The 4 of Nook out in front, 3 wide behind him, and blocking 3 lanes of traffic. Here comes Mellon up top with a run from 34. 3 wide still on this racetrack, trying to go 4 wide. That ain't gonna work, boys. They're spinning. The 97 of Mellon, Freezy, Chris, cautions out, and Chris on 2 wheels saving it. Chris up on 2 wheels and drifting. What a W drift by the pickle, man. And 34's wrecking. What a goober. And at this point, we're rounding that number. Brunswick, 10 laps to go. That is when you're going to see interesting concepts come to light. We have Chris spinning like a donut on the backstretch. Wait, spinning like a donut? No, he's doing donuts, spinning like a twister. Or a saucer. And when we talk about sauce, we have to trace this all back to Duncan, who loves to eat. And I'm sure he'll put chocolate sauce on the ice cream that he's going to put in his trophy if he can win today. Pit road going to open up. I'm not sure how many will take, but there will be a handful that do. 6 drivers take, 3 say nay. Those being Chris, Ray, and 34. Let's see how it's going to turn out off the exit of pit road. And as we would know, everybody on their last stop, you don't want to come out at the back. What you also don't want to do, you don't want to end up in a position where you lose the draft. There comes the 7 of Bella to put herself in control and trying to continue the streak. 3, 4, 3. 56, Freezy out in front, trying to score the win of a lifetime. Getting ready to do this restart, and all bets are off now. It's just... What in the world have I just watched? It is the Craig one here. The intelligence that Freezy is displaying, talking about warming his tires up, is highly minimal. Highly low, if that's a proper phrase to use for what I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm bored. We're sitting under red, and I don't know what to say with 10 to go. You know, all the stops are done. Everybody's settled in at this point, except for the people that are in reverse right now. We'll restart with 10 to go, and what you have to understand here, is that everything has been shuffled. If you had a hand going green this time, we are in the restart zone now and back underway. I'm not sure how that call got to be made, but it is green. The field together behind 34 and Chris, who paced his pack. Monk, a 1 out of 3, I believe that has something to do with jumping the restart. But Monk going to move out of the way and head to the back. A 2-car tandem paces the field with 10 laps to go. But at this point, it's all bets are off. Chris trying to make it happen for the first time in nearly a month in any league. And in BRL, it hasn't been since Season 2 at Talladega. This very track during the playoffs took him to the Awesome Autosport Championship 4 sweep. Now he has 9 laps to break his winless streak. It has been months since Chris was able to take home the win, finish the job, bring the bag back to the checkered flag, and now he's out of line, and with 9 left, he's going to have to come a long way to do it. Every race, every driver has a story to tell with their performance. What they have in the tank is how they show it. And right now, it's 34's who's on display the most clearly. He's been out in front for the vast majority of it. And with 8 laps left, he's still in control with a chance to win it. But the 7 and the 54, 56, God, I might as well just shut up. I don't think you could hear any of that anyways because I'm freezing so much. The 71 still out in front. Leads the 21 of Duncan. Duncan trying to get the run. He has help from Monk. Looks to the inside. 34 with the block. Out in front. Monk goes to the high side. No help with Monk. Now Duncan will go with Monk. No one else up there but Dunk. Whoa, Monk turns into Dunk and goes around. Saves it, gets to the back of the field. Now, the lap reads 7 to go. Spire teammates, although not really. They're just Spire teammates in spirit, I would suppose. I don't think that they're actually on the same team. Huge game of chess being played back there behind the 34 of Chris. 34 out in front of this thing. He's going to have to make something. He's going to have to make a blocking masterclass to stay out in front of this thing. I don't think you can do that. I think his best bet is to get out of the lead because I don't think holding on for this many laps is ever going to be something in the cards for someone at Talladega. Wouldn't be as hard to do as it would be at Daytona, but boy, it's going to be nearly impossible. Monk goes in the grass, gets into Nook, and causes a crash with Rocky. I have no idea on earth what Monk was thinking there, but they'll both be able to merge. I don't think too much harm's done from either. The 71, 34, still with the pushes from Chris. Out in front, he hasn't lost the lead yet. But everybody understanding the stakes of this race will now take 34 out of line. Whoa, Chris tried to break for him, and that will turn Nook. That will turn Freezy. That will turn Duncan. The caution is out. And that will give Melon the lead. And Chris needs to be punished for that, I think, but I'm not sure. I think he tried to break, and that just turned him into Nook. Could be wrong. But it looked very idiotic from my perspective. Under caution, at this point you're not pitting. You're not doing anything except racing. At the restart, it'll be 4 to go. And I don't know if I am anticipating any form of overtime, but I think your best bet, if you're a gambling man, is to put it all on that overtime. With a green this time, we have cars respawning. No earthly idea why you would respawn. How you wouldn't have enough gas. give the control to Melon, he will not disappoint. Will he or will he not? That is the question. What it's been said is he wouldn't. What will be shown is still yet to be seen. Melon pacing this field with less than 4 laps to go, shaking and baking. Earlier today, he was a winner over in Lefty Server at Quarter Pipe, a very comparable track to this one. It's very much a super speedway, but it also takes a lot of control. You know, you're turning left and right, even though it's a drafting track, and it's a lot of just getting control. And that is Talladega in a nutshell. Heading back to 3 to go, you have to have control of the car as much as you have to have control of the race. Because if you can't keep it on the bottom, you can have as much control of the race as you want. You won't hold the lead for a significant portion of the laps, and he has to do it for 3 laps. I don't think going to the back at this point is going to do him any good. He just needs to push the issue, and I don't think that's going to be what 34 wants. He's not going to let him. Going to go back to the bottom, and Melon holding on with everything he's got, trying to get his first documented BRL win in over 6 months. He's got to do it for 2 more laps when they get to the line, and he will have done it. Out of turn 4 through the tri-oval, 2 to go when they get to the line. Banging doors, everybody wants a piece of victory, and the field behind Melon coming apart. The 29 of Monk is upside down, and it is overtime. Like I said, if you were a gambling man, put it all on overtime. And that we will see. Look, I can see exactly where the 56 is coming from on lag. I'm lagging as we speak, Brunswick, so I would keep that into account when it comes to lag and whether or not he's telling the truth. Trying to get back underway and hopefully get over in the first overtime. Will Melon be able to see the white flag, or will someone else see the white flag, I should say? Will somebody see the white flag here? Will anyone see the white flag here without a caution flag as we head back to overtime and into the Geico restart zone? The 97 of Melon, the pacer of the field. We are back underway from Talladega. The 71 of 34, you know he wants something. Whoa, they're up the track. Chris and Bella get together. They'll get it saved, and that will keep us green. And the key thing here is coming back. You're looking for the energy behind Melon, the second, the third row, seeing who's going to get the runs and seeing where they're going to go. Nook, the first man to look high. Will anybody go with him? Right now, the answer is no. The pushes for 34 and Chris to the bumper of Melon. And Chris wants a super speedway win more than anybody here. That driver has not been able to get it done when it counts. Duncan flipping back to the white. And the caution will come out just moments before Melon was going to see the finish. The end was in sight. They were going to be there. And that is going to force Melon to do it all again. Duncan upside down, coming back to the white flag, and that is going to put Melon back in the precarious position he just found himself in, which is holding them back for 2 more laps with even more aggression because everybody's back in the field. Everybody has another chance at it. And I think the more laps go on, the more people are like, man, I want to win this race because it feels more real. It feels more intense. Now, trying to see if the second overtime is the charm, and into the restart zone, Melon paces the field, 34 in tow, with Chris trying to do it as well. 2 to go from Talladega. It is overtime in BRL. And our second attempt at that. 34 with help from Chris. The energy is very stacked up behind Melon. I don't suspect that all these guys will stay on the bottom. Somebody wants this more than the rest, and they're going to look to the outside. Or somebody will get pushed out of line. Let's see, where does the momentum go? The 7 of Bella gets turned, and that could be the end of her race. The top 7 now all under a blanket, 7 cars in tandem, bumper to bumper to bumper. Melon out of the draft. The 71 of 34 to the lead, coming back to the white flag. Who is going to win this race? Talladega, as a track of unpredictability. Let's see who pulls the wild card out of the hat. White flag at Talladega. 34 out in front, trying to make the right moves, trying to finish this thing, trying to take his championship reputation to victory lane. Chris out of line, Nook to the bottom. Now I think Duncan's going to commit with Chris. Who's going with him? Who takes that outside to the front? Chris has help. 3 cars on the top, 4 on the bottom. Who gets back to the stripe first? 3 wide, 34, squeezing everybody in a frenzy to try and pass the 71. Down the front stretch, Chris to the top, 34 to the bottom. Half a car length, a nose, a push, right to the start-finish line, side by side, and Chris will win it. Pickle Chris takes the Talladega win by half a car length. And in one of the wildest finishes I've seen in my day, Pickle Chris, your streak is over. Talladega delivers. And the 34 car has won it. A squeeze, a shot, a bang. And when the dust settled, the flag came out, and the cars crossed the line. It was Chris who won it in a clean finish to the outside of 34. And what about it for Chris? Heartbreak has mired his season. A crash at Daytona in both races. A crash in the D2 race at Atlanta. All of which he was leading on the last lap and was crashed by things at least somewhat out of his control. He overcomes it today and will celebrate with his friends in victory lane.